Have you ever wondered why some people always seem to attract wealth while others struggle all their lives? In the heart of ancient Babylon, the richest city of its time, lived a man who uncovered timeless secrets to financial freedom. The Richest Man in Babylon, by George S. Clason, isn't just a book, it's a blueprint for mastering money, growing wealth, and living with purpose. These ancient parables hold answers modern schools never taught us. In the next few minutes, we'll unlock the exact principles that transformed poor men into millionaires, and can do the same for you. Let's begin your journey to financial wisdom, Babylon style. Chapter 1: The Man Who Desired Gold. The beginning of a journey from poverty to wealth. Have you ever looked at your empty wallet and wondered why, despite all your efforts, money slips away like sand through your fingers? This is exactly how Bansir felt. He was a humble chariot builder in the grand city of Babylon, one of the richest cities the world has ever known. But despite living in such a wealthy place, Bansir was poor. Day after day, he toiled under the hot sun, crafting strong, beautiful chariots with his hands. His reputation was good, his work honest. And yet, at the end of the day, there was barely enough to eat. No savings, no extra, no gold. One day, Bansir sat on the wall of his home, staring blankly at his unfinished chariot. His tools lay idle, and so did his dreams. His heart was heavy. He longed not just for comfort, but for wealth. He didn't want to become greedy. He simply wanted the security town, the respect, the joy that gold could bring, the ability to take care of his family, to rest without worry, to finally live without fear of the future. As he sat in silence, lost in thought, his childhood friend, Kobe, arrived. A musician by profession. Seeing Bansir's unusual stillness, Kobe asked what troubled him. And then, Bansir opened up. He confessed his frustration. "We've worked all our lives," he said, "and yet we have nothing to show for it. What are we doing wrong?" And in that moment, something powerful happened. It wasn't just a casual conversation. It was a wake-up call. Two friends, tired of living in poverty, finally asking the most important question: if others can become rich, why can't we? They weren't lazy, they weren't foolish, they just lacked knowledge, the wisdom of how money truly works. And so they made a decision that would change their lives forever. They decided to learn, to seek out someone who had already done it, someone who once walked in poverty but now lived in abundance. And that man was Arkād, the richest man in all of Babylon. A man once as poor as Bansir, but now so wealthy that kings came to him for advice. This chapter isn't just the story of Bansir and Kobe, it's the story of millions of us. We work, we try, we dream, but somewhere deep inside we know something is missing. Not effort, but direction. Not dreams, but a plan. Bansir's realization is emotional because it's so universal. How many of us sit in silence, wondering why we can't get ahead? Why our bank account is always near zero, despite all our hard work? It's not about being greedy. It's about dignity, peace of mind, and breaking the cycle of living from paycheck to paycheck. What this chapter teaches us, more than anything, is the power of seeking knowledge. The moment you become aware that you lack the tools for financial success, and you decide to learn, that's the turning point. That's when everything changes. This is not just the beginning of Bansir's journey, it's the beginning of yours. Because like Bansir, you're no longer satisfied with just enough. You want more, for yourself, your family, your future. And that desire, that burning longing for gold, is not a weakness. It's a spark, a calling, one that, if followed, can lead you to financial freedom. The first step? Do what Bansir and Kobe did. Stop. Reflect. Ask the hard question. If others can do it, why not me? And then take the next step, to learn from those who know. Because wealth isn't about luck, it's about wisdom. And your journey, just like theirs, starts with a single powerful desire, the desire for gold. Chapter 2: The Richest Man in Babylon. Arkād's Wisdom. Meet Arkād and learn the foundational principles of wealth building. Have you ever passed by a luxurious house, seen someone driving an expensive car, or living a life of freedom and wondered, how did they do it? What do they know that I don't? In ancient Babylon, that question led many to one man: Arkād, the richest man in the city. A man whose name echoed through the markets and palaces. He wasn't born into wealth. He wasn't gifted gold. He earned every coin through wisdom, discipline, and patience. And more importantly, he was willing to teach. When Bansir and Kobe decided they had enough of poverty, they joined a group of curious minds who visited Arkād. These men weren't beggars. They were workers, artisans, dreamers, just like us. They wanted to learn. And Arkād, in his flowing robes and calm voice, welcomed them. He didn't begin with complex financial terms or overwhelming theories. He started with a story. His story. Long ago, Arkād had been a poor scribe, just like Bansir was a poor chariot builder. He copied scrolls for a few coins a week, barely enough to feed himself. He worked hard but remained poor. And one day, like many of us do, he asked the most important question: why do I work so hard and still remain poor? That question burned inside him. Then one day, an opportunity came. A rich moneylender named Algamish entered his shop, needing scrolls copied urgently. Arkād agreed, but under one condition: teach me how to become rich, and I'll stay all night to finish your work. Algamish agreed, and what he taught Arkād that night became the foundation of Arkād's wealth, and now ours. The first thing he said was simple, yet life-changing. A part of all you earn is yours to keep. At first, Arkād didn't understand. Wasn't all the money he earned already his? But Algamish shook his head. No, the money you earn, you give away, to rent, food, clothes, entertainment. You earn for others, not yourself. But true wealth begins when you start paying yourself first. Arkād began saving at least 1/10 of all he earned. Every 10 coins he kept one. It seemed small at first. It felt slow. But over time, those coins added up. He didn't touch them. He respected them. Those coins were seeds of his future. Then came the second lesson. Don't let your money sit idle. Make it work. Arkād tried investing, but foolishly gave his savings to a brickmaker to buy jewels. The jewels turned out to be fake, and Arkād lost everything. His mistake taught him a painful truth. Always seek wisdom before risking your gold. He learned not just to save, but to invest wisely, to take advice only from those skilled in the area he wished to explore, to learn from experience, not from guesses. The group listening to Arkād sat in silence. They weren't hearing a fairy tale. They were hearing truth. Truth they had never been taught. Truth that could transform their lives. Arkād's voice softened as he said, I found the road to wealth when I decided that a part of all I earned was mine to keep, and then I made that part grow, and then I guarded it with care. That is the path. What makes this story so emotional, so real, is that Arkād was no different from us. He didn't have rich parents. He didn't get lucky. He simply made a decision to change his life and followed it with discipline. We often believe that wealth is far away, reserved for someone else. But Arkād's story proves it starts with small, powerful choices. Not big leaps, but small steps repeated with patience. So now, dear listener, ask yourself, do you pay yourself first? Or do you give your entire income away before thinking of your own future? The journey to wealth doesn't begin with millions. It begins with one coin, one choice, one habit. And just like Arkād, when you respect your earnings, when you learn before investing, and when you stay patient through failures, you'll find that wealth isn't just a dream. It's a result. It's a reward for those who are willing to learn, willing to grow, and willing to keep going. This is Arkād's gift to Babylon, and now to you. Chapter 3. The 7 Cures for a Lean Purse. Timeless rules to grow and protect. Have you ever opened your wallet at the end of the month, hoping to find something left, but finding only emptiness? That ache in your chest, that quiet fear of not having enough, is a feeling too many of us know too well. In Babylon, when people cried out about the growing poverty in the land, the king himself turned to Arkād, the richest and wisest man, and asked him to teach others how to become wealthy. The poor filled the great hall of learning, waiting, not for charity, but for clarity. And Arkād, with calm authority, began to share 7 timeless cures for a lean purse. 7 golden rules. Not magic, not luck, just truth. The first rule was simple and powerful. Start thy purse to fattening. Arkād repeated what his own teacher had told him. A part of all you earn is yours to keep. Save at least 10% of your income before you pay anyone else. It doesn't matter how small the amount. The act of saving builds discipline. It builds confidence. And most importantly, it builds wealth. The second rule was just as important. Control thy expenditures. How often do we spend more than we earn? Not because we're greedy, but because we don't track where our money goes. Arkād taught that our desires grow with our income. The more we earn, the more we crave. But true wealth lies not in fulfilling every desire, but in mastering them. Learn the difference between wants and needs. Spend wisely, and you'll never feel poor. The third rule: make thy gold multiply. Money that sits still slowly dies, but money that is invested wisely and patiently grows. Arkād reminded them that gold is a worker. It should give birth to more gold. Invest your savings in safe, long-term opportunities that bring returns. Let your money work even while you sleep. The fourth cure: guard thy treasures from loss. Greed and haste often lead people into dangerous investments. Arkād shared his early mistakes to warn others. Never risk your savings on unsure ventures. Always seek advice from experienced men before investing. Protect your money the way a soldier protects his city, because one bad decision can destroy years of progress. Then came the fifth rule: make of thy dwelling a profitable investment. Arkād encouraged people to own their homes instead of renting forever. When you own your house, you not only secure your living, but reduce your long-term expenses. A man who lives in a home he owns walks taller with pride, dignity, and a sense of freedom. The sixth cure: ensure a future income. There will come a time when age weakens your hands, or life throws unexpected storms. Plan for those days today. Save not just for the now, but for the years ahead. Use insurance, build passive income, and create a financial safety net for your family and your old age. Finally, the seventh rule: increase thy ability to earn. Arkād's voice grew passionate here. He said, the more wisdom we gain, the more we can earn. Invest in yourself. Learn new skills. Read more. Work harder and smarter. Become so valuable that gold naturally follows you. Your income can grow only as much as you grow. The hall was silent. Because these 7 cures didn't just apply to the people of Babylon. They apply to you, to me, to anyone who has ever struggled with money. They are not ancient secrets locked in time. They are universal truths. Truths that bring hope. Truths that say you don't have to stay broke. You can rise step by step with discipline and patience. You don't need luck. You need a plan. And Arkād gave us that plan. You see, poverty is not just the lack of money, it's the lack of financial wisdom. But the moment you learn, the moment you decide to change, you begin to rewrite your story. So today, ask yourself, are you paying yourself first? Are you controlling your spending? Are you making your gold multiply? Are you protecting your savings? Are you planning for your future? Are you investing in yourself? If not, then start now. Because wealth isn't given, it is built, with knowledge, patience, and action. And these 7 cures are your first bricks on that path. Chapter 4, The 5 Laws of Gold. Understanding how money works. What if I told you that gold has its own rules? That it listens to no one, except those who understand its language? Because here's a truth we often forget. Money follows wisdom, not wishful thinking. In Babylon, a young man named Nomasir learned this truth the hard way. He was the son of Arkād, the richest man in Babylon, but Arkād didn't believe in giving his son wealth without responsibility. When Nomasir became a man, Arkād handed him 2 things, a small bag of gold and a clay tablet carved with 5 simple laws, the 5 laws of gold. Then Arkād sent his son out into the world to build his own fortune. At first, Nomasir trusted the gold more than the laws. He spent freely, made investments on a whim, and listened to the wrong people. Before long, his gold was gone. All of it. He had nothing but the clay tablet, the forgotten wisdom of his father. And in those dark days of regret, Nomasir finally began to read, to study, to understand. And that's when his journey truly began. That's when he learned how to make gold work for him. The first law: gold comes gladly and in increasing quantity to any man who will put by not less than 1/10 of his earnings to create an estate for his future. In other words, save consistently. Not once, not occasionally, but always. Gold respects discipline. It grows in the hands of those who honor it with regular care. The second law: gold labors diligently and contentedly for the wise owner who finds for it profitable employment. Don't just save, invest. Gold that sleeps in a box gathers dust, but gold that is invested wisely multiplies. It works day and night, creating more gold if you guide it with wisdom. The third law: Gold clings to the protection of the cautious owner who invests it under the advice of men wise in its handling. Don't guess. Don't gamble. Seek the advice of those who have proven knowledge. Too many people lose money not because they're unlucky, but because they trust the wrong voices. The fourth law: gold slips away from the man who invests it in businesses or purposes with which he is not familiar. Be honest with yourself. If you don't understand the investment, walk away. Your money deserves clarity, not confusion. Understanding is protection. Confusion is risk. And finally, the fifth law: gold flees the man who forces it to impossible earnings or follows the alluring advice of tricksters and schemers. If something sounds too good to be true, it is. Greed blinds the wise. Many men have lost their fortunes chasing miracles instead of building patiently. Gold is loyal, but not to the reckless. Nomasir took these 5 laws to heart. He began saving again, investing with caution, seeking guidance, and slowly, gold returned to him. But this time, it stayed. Because now, he wasn't just holding gold, he was holding wisdom. And when he returned to his father years later, he came back not as a beggar, but as a wealthy, respected man. He gave back the gold bag Arkād once gave him and said proudly, "The wisdom of the laws was greater than the gold itself." You see, gold may come and go, but the knowledge of how to earn, grow, and protect it will serve you forever. So pause for a moment and reflect. Are you following the laws of gold, or breaking them unknowingly? Are you saving first, or spending everything you earn? Are you investing wisely, or chasing shiny illusions? Are you learning before risking, or risking without learning? The 5 laws of gold aren't just financial tips. They are life principles, etched in the stone of time. They protect you when you're tempted, they guide you when you're unsure, and most importantly, they give you something no amount of money can buy: control. Because wealth isn't just about having gold, it's about knowing how to keep it, grow it, and honor it. That's how you turn a lean purse into a fat one. That's how you become the master, not the slave of money. Chapter 5: The Gold Lender of Babylon. Lessons on lending, trust, and safe investments. Have you ever lent money to a friend or relative and never got it back? That heavy mix of guilt, regret, and helplessness, it's something many of us carry quietly. We want to help. We want to be generous. But when emotions guide money, losses often follow. In Babylon, there lived a man named Roden, a skilled spear maker. One day, after receiving a generous gift of gold from the king for his fine craftsmanship, Roden was filled with pride and confusion. For the first time, he had more gold than he ever imagined, but didn't know what to do with it. His sister came to him with tears in her eyes, asking him to lend this gold to her husband to start a business. Roden's heart ached. He loved his sister dearly. But deep inside, something didn't feel right. Her husband had no experience in business. He was not trained, not prepared. Roden feared the money would be lost. So, he went to Mathon, the gold lender of Babylon, a man known not just for his wealth, but for his wisdom. Mathon didn't answer with judgment, he answered with a story. He took out a chest filled with small tokens, each representing a loan he had made. Some were marked with joy, others with sorrow. Each symbolized trust given, and whether it was earned or broken. And from this, Mathon shared a powerful truth. It is better a little caution than a great regret. He explained that lending money is not just about kindness, it's about judgment. When you lend without understanding the borrower's ability to repay, you're not helping them, you're endangering both of you. Lending must be based on ability and character, not just relationships. Roden listened carefully. Mathon wasn't cold-hearted, he was wise. He told Roden that gold is a trust. Once lost, it's hard to recover, and if lent foolishly, it not only disappears, it causes pain, breaks bonds, and leaves scars. But Mathon also offered hope. He explained that lending can be good when done wisely. When you lend to those with skill, knowledge, and a proven sense of responsibility, your gold is likely to return with friends. That's how money multiplies. That's how communities grow stronger. Roden understood. His heart was still kind, but now it was guided by reason. This chapter teaches us a lesson we all must face. Kindness walks hand in hand with wisdom. Giving blindly may feel generous, but if it causes suffering later, was it really kindness? How many of us have lent to someone we love only to lose both the money and the relationship? How many dreams have we supported with our hearts while ignoring the reality in front of us? The pain of a broken promise is heavy for both the lender and the borrower. So ask yourself, are you lending out of guilt or good judgment? Are you helping someone rise or setting them up to fall? Are you protecting your wealth or watching it slowly disappear? Mathon's wisdom isn't cold, it's protective. It reminds us that your gold has power, and it should be used not to fuel blind hope, but to support smart, strong action. And if someone you care about asks for help, don't just say yes or no. Ask them the hard questions. Guide them. Teach them. Help them grow so that when they do receive help, they are ready for it. Because true help isn't about handing over gold. It's about helping someone earn it, respect it, and return it with honor. That's how you protect your wealth. And that's how you protect your relationships too. Chapter 6. The Walls of Babylon. Protecting your wealth from dangers and losses. What good is building a fortune if you don't protect it? Imagine this. You've spent years working, saving, investing, you've grown your gold, built your home, earned respect, and then, in one single moment, it's gone. Lost to disaster, lost to betrayal, lost because you never built walls around what you worked so hard to create. That's the hard truth most people overlook. We focus so much on how to earn money, but rarely think about how to protect it. In ancient Babylon, towering stone walls wrapped around the great city like a mother's arms around her child. Strong, wide, and nearly impossible to break through, those walls were more than just protection. They were a symbol of safety, stability, and strength. One day, enemies approached Babylon. Armies with sharp swords, loud drums, and eyes full of greed. From inside the city, people could hear the chaos. Fear rose like a tide, but the walls stood tall, unwavering, unshaken. And inside those walls, people slept peacefully. Why? Because they trusted the walls. They knew those walls were their first and final defense against loss. In the same way, Arkād explained, we must build invisible walls around our wealth, not of stone, but of wisdom. Because danger doesn't always come with an army. Sometimes it comes as a small emergency, a bad investment, a sudden illness, a dishonest friend, a weak insurance plan, a legal problem. That's why protecting your wealth is just as important as growing it. Because life is full of risks, and without walls, even a small storm can wash away everything. So how do we build these walls? We do it by ensuring what we can't afford to lose. If you have a family, a house, or a business, ask yourself, are they protected if something happens to me? We build them by keeping an emergency fund, gold that isn't touched, unless life truly demands it. Because even the best plan can collapse if you don't prepare for the unexpected. We build them by avoiding careless risks, by not chasing quick profits or gambling on understand. We build them by keeping our personal lives strong, because one broken relationship, one bad decision, one blind trust can open a crack in the wall. This chapter isn't about fear, it's about security. Because real peace isn't having money in the bank, it's knowing that no matter what comes tomorrow, your foundation is safe. That even if the winds howl and the world shakes, you will stand. Too many people build riches like sandcastles, beautiful, but easily broken. But you must build like Babylon, solid, strong. With walls so high, even fear itself hesitates to enter. So ask yourself now, do you have a wall protecting your wealth? Or are you just hoping nothing bad happens? Hope is not a strategy. Preparation is. And just like the people of Babylon who slept calmly while danger marched outside, you too can find peace if you build your defenses before the attack ever comes. Because wealth is not only about having gold, it's about keeping it safe. For you, for your family, and for the future you've worked so hard to build. Chapter 7. The Camel Trader of Babylon. There are moments in life when a person stands at the edge of despair, not because the world is cruel, but because the weight of their own choices has become too heavy to carry. Such was the life of Arkād, a young man of Babylon, who walked the dusty streets with nothing in his pouch, no coin, and no dignity. The sun beat down upon his back like a reminder of the debts he owed and the promises he had broken. Hunger gnawed at him, but it was not just his stomach that ached. It was his pride. He had once lived well, feasting at his friends' tables, wearing robes of fine thread, and never worrying about tomorrow. But those tomorrows came, and with them came debts, shame, and solitude. Arkād owed money to many and had no means to repay. He had become the kind of man others turned away from when they saw him approaching. His name was whispered, not in admiration, but in warning. One such morning, as he walked in shame, hoping for a scrap or a borrowed coin, he came across Dabasir, a man once known as a camel trader, now sitting tall and content outside a merchant's stall. Arkād was hesitant, but hunger forced courage into his footsteps. He approached and greeted Dabasir with lowered eyes, but instead of scorn, Dabasir offered him dates and said, "Sit and eat, Arkād. But hear me well, for food alone will not free a man." Arkād, moved by kindness and crushed by his failures, listened intently. And Dabasir began to speak, not of camels, not of riches, but of his own fall and redemption. Years ago, Dabasir had been no different. He too had wasted gold on pleasure, borrowed what he could not repay, and fled when he could no longer face his debtors. He had gone to foreign lands, hoping to escape his past. But debts, like shadows, travel with you. In a cruel twist of fate, he had become a slave, his freedom sold for silver. He spoke of the nights he lay chained, not just by iron, but by regret. One day, as he looked up at the stars, he remembered the words of his father. "A man's soul is bound by his honor. You may lose your gold, your home, or your freedom, but never lose your honor." That night, Dabasir vowed to return to Babylon, not just in body, but in spirit, to repay every coin, to rebuild his life, and to reclaim his name. Arkād's eyes filled with tears. "But how?" he asked. "How does a man climb from such depths?" Dabasir smiled and placed a firm hand on his shoulder. "With a plan, with discipline, and with the courage to face each day, no matter how small the step." He explained how he had made a list of his debts, however painful it was. He divided his earnings, keeping a portion for himself, using another for his necessities, and dedicating the rest to repaying those he owed. He did not seek shortcuts. He did not beg for forgiveness. He earned it. "It is not the size of your coin that matters," Dabasir said. "It is the size of your will. When you choose to own your past, the future bows to you." That day, something stirred within Arkād. It was not a feast, nor gold, nor glory. It was the awakening of responsibility, of hope, of manhood. The camel trader of Babylon was not remembered because he never failed, but because he dared to rise after falling. He showed us that debt is not a curse when faced with honesty, that freedom is not gifted, it is earned, and that the journey from shame to dignity begins with a decision, the decision to try. Arkād rose from that bench a different man, not yet wealthy, not yet free, but no longer broken. And so can we all. Chapter 8. The Clay Tablets from Babylon. Have you ever felt crushed under the burden of debt, wondering if there's a way out, a clear plan, a path carved by someone who once walked the same difficult road? Chapter 8. The Clay Tablets from Babylon. Have you ever felt crushed under the burden of debt, wondering if there's a way out, a clear plan, a path carved by someone who once walked the same difficult road? Imagine uncovering ancient clay tablets that could contain the very blueprint to climb out of financial despair and rise into prosperity. These were real tablets found in the ruins of Babylon, telling the story of a man named Dabasir, a man just like you, like me, with problems, with weaknesses, with dreams. Dabasir was a camel trader, once proud and wealthy, but through foolish decisions he lost everything. He borrowed freely, lived extravagantly, and then found himself a slave in a foreign land. But this is not just the story of failure, it's the story of comeback. A comeback carved in clay, a roadmap written not in theories, but in action. Dabasir's journey back to financial freedom begins with one powerful realization, that a man must take responsibility for his own soul. No one else would save him, no lucky break, no magical coin, just him, his choices, and his will. He made a promise to himself, to live with honor and repay every debt he owed, and from that moment, he wrote down his plan, a clear, step-by-step formula to escape his lean purse. The first thing Dabasir did was follow the timeless Babylonian rule, spend less than you earn. He wrote, 10 coins of gold I earn, but 9 I shall live upon. 1 coin I shall keep for myself. That was his starting point. That 1 coin became his hope, his symbol of change. And with each month, as he saved that 10th coin, he felt stronger. Then came the second rule, to divide his earnings wisely. 1/10 he saved for his future, 2/10 he used to repay his debts, and the remaining 7/10 he lived on. He didn't beg for mercy from his creditors. He didn't make excuses. Instead, he humbly approached them and offered to repay a portion every month, and he kept his word. As months passed, his confidence grew. The burden of debt grew lighter. His savings grew larger. His honor returned. The same man who was once a slave was now rising, step by step, becoming a master of his fate. Why does this matter to us today? Because Dabasir's tablets were not about magic or mystery. They were about principles, ancient, yes, but eternally true. They prove that no matter how deep our debt, no matter how big our mistakes, we can change. With discipline, with courage, with a written plan, we can rebuild. Think about your own life. What if you started today? What if you took one small step? Not tomorrow, not next month, but right now. Like Dabasir, you can start by saving just 10% of what you earn. Create a plan for your debts. Don't ignore them, face them. And most importantly, believe that freedom is possible. Because it is. The clay tablets of Babylon were not just records, they were gifts, messages across time from one human heart to another, and their message is clear. No one is too far gone. No debt is too big. The path to freedom is real. You just have to walk it. Chapter 9. The Luckiest Man in Babylon. They called him the luckiest man in Babylon. But what if I told you his luck wasn't luck at all? This story begins in the sun-baked streets of ancient Babylon, where the people marveled at how Sharu-Nada, once a poor slave, rose to become a wealthy, respected merchant. People whispered about his success, envious of his fortune. He's just lucky, they said. But behind the curtains of success was a truth that few were willing to see. One day, a young man named Hadan Gula, eager to escape the responsibilities of hard work, found himself traveling with Sharu-Nada. His father had entrusted Sharu to teach him the value of discipline and decision-making. As they journeyed together, Sharu decided to reveal the truth of his so-called luck. He began by sharing the painful memory of being sold into slavery. His hands once bound, dignity stripped, Sharu could have surrendered to despair. But he made a choice that changed everything. He worked harder than any slave, not to please his master, but to prepare himself for the day opportunity would knock. His first breakthrough came when his honest work caught the attention of a baker who offered him a better place. Sharu continued to serve with loyalty and skill, learning every trade he could. Little by little, he saved coins. When most spent their small earnings for comfort or leisure, he sacrificed short-term pleasure for long-term gain. He saw every coin not just as money, but as a seed that could grow into something greater. Then came the turning point. An old merchant, impressed by Sharu's dedication and reliability, offered him a small share in his trade. It was a risky move, but Sharu was prepared. His years of hardship had made him wise. He invested, he listened, he learned. And when the time came, he took the reins of the business and expanded it beyond imagination. That, he told young Hadan, is my story. Not luck, preparation, discipline, vision. Sharu's message was clear. The goddess of good luck smiles not on the lazy or the hopeful dreamers, but on those who prepare. On those who wake up early, study late, save more, and work with honesty and purpose. He showed that fortune isn't found. It is created through the choices we make every day. By the time they reached Babylon, the young man was changed. He understood what his father wanted him to see. Not the comfort of wealth, but the fire that forges it. We all wish for luck. We hope to win, to be chosen, to be rescued by fortune. But what if you stopped waiting? What if you started preparing right now for the opportunities life will offer tomorrow? The truth is simple but powerful. Luck is never random. It is the meeting point of readiness and chance. The question is, will you be ready? Now let's dive into the final chapter. Chapter 10, Building Your Future in Babylon. Let me ask you something. What kind of life do you dream of? A life where your money works for you, where you're free from fear, stress, and debt? A life where you sleep peacefully at night, knowing your future is secure? That kind of life isn't a fantasy. It's the result of applying timeless truths. And those truths were first shared not in modern banks or financial books, but on the dusty streets and golden walls of ancient Babylon. As we reach the final chapter, we are not just closing a book, we're opening a door. The wisdom of Babylon wasn't meant to stay in the past. It was passed down so we could shape our future with it. The people of Babylon weren't magicians. They didn't win lotteries or rely on miracles. They simply followed principles. Disciplined steps repeated with courage and consistency. And that's what you can do too. It starts with awareness. Realize that you are the architect of your destiny. Your income, no matter how small, holds power. Your decisions, no matter how ordinary, hold potential. Saving 1 coin out of every 10 may feel small today, but it's a seed that can grow into financial freedom. Avoiding unnecessary debt, protecting your wealth, and investing wisely, these aren't just habits. They're shields that guard your dreams. In Babylon, they didn't just build walls to protect gold, they built character to protect futures. So when you save, you're not just putting money aside, you're building discipline. When you resist temptations, you're building strength. When you choose to learn about how money flows, grows, and works, you're building wisdom. Many of us wait for a big break. But the truth is, Babylon teaches us that success doesn't come from luck, it comes from preparation. You become lucky when you're ready, when you've done the hard work in silence and the opportunity shows up. That's when the world sees your light. Now take a moment to imagine your own Babylon. It could be a future without debt, a home you own, a peaceful retirement, a business you start, a family you support. That future is possible, and it begins with applying everything you've learned. Control your expenses, make gold your servant, guard it from loss, invest it wisely, and never stop learning. You don't have to be perfect, you just have to start. The Babylonians weren't born wealthy, they became wise. And now, so can you. One decision at a time, one day at a time. So as you close this journey through the gates of Babylon, carry its lessons in your heart. Let them guide you every time you face doubt, temptation, or uncertainty. Because the richest treasures are not in gold, but in the wisdom you now hold. You are no longer a wanderer in the world of wealth. You are a builder, a protector, a wise citizen of your own Babylon. And your future? It begins today. Like, subscribe, follow for daily book gems. More summaries waiting. Click now.